And I want to thank everybody for joining us here on the Lapani Technologies podcast. If you're interested in our company, feel free to contact us at lapanitechnologies.com. If you'd like to follow our blog, it's lapanitechnologies.com/blog. You can also follow us on Twitter at lapanitech, as well as on Skype at lapanitech. I want to thank everybody for joining us here. This is the first ever Lapani Technologies podcast. We're very happy to be able to do this and have everybody as part of this podcast. So, one thing we'll be talking about today is about browser security. That's the big topic, as well as some other topics I'd like to talk about with everybody today in regards to technology. And most importantly, our company focuses on security. So I'd like to talk to everybody about a couple of issues as far as that goes. Anyway, today is our May 29th, 2012 podcast. And if anybody follows our blog, you know today we did a very informative blog post on email security in the cloud. And I just wanted to talk to everybody. If you haven't read it, I don't want to give too much of it away. But if you haven't read it yet, it's very, very good. It talks about the safety of data centers at a cloud location, as well as Microsoft trying to move everybody over from internally hosted Exchange servers to externally hosted Exchange servers. So it's hits on a lot of touchy subjects, especially when it comes to email. So I want to thank everybody ahead of time, for reading it, and hope it is a big eye opener for you. I know myself, I was just dealing with some clients recently that were very, very interested in going cloud-based email because Microsoft, especially at educational and facilities, offer free spam filtering, as well as offer cloud storage, which is a good thing for some people because they don't have to worry about the particular expense that goes along with it. But again, part of the other problem with that is when you sacrifice cost, you're sacrificing security for that cost. So it's something that all companies have to weigh. I think smaller organizations, especially small school districts, eventually might go to cloud-based email. But I believe for the larger organizations, especially ones that really have to focus on confidentiality and data, I think that's going to be a shot in the dark for Microsoft. And I doubt that I can see a lot of huge organizations going, people with 10,000, 20,000 emails going cloud-based. But again, it really all depends on the company, what their needs are, and where they plan to go with their company. So time will tell how Microsoft's going to make out with that. I know one of the other issues that we had spoken about, especially this week on the blog, was HP's going to a cloud-based storage or a cloud management system. A lot of mixed feelings on that. I haven't blogged too much. I would like to get a blog post up on that. I think I'm going to actually do that maybe this week. Cloud-based, systems management brings in a whole nother issue. Those particular, your computer names, your hardware. That's the only thing too. No cloud-based company has really made it, completely, clear what exactly they're collecting in the background. I think HP is definitely on the right track with cloud-based systems management to a certain degree. But again, it also brings in. The out-of-band management piece was always something that every system center guy and anybody that ever worked with systems management had to deal with, remote update, remote imaging, all that type of stuff. But I think, depending on how HP is going to go with it, as well as Microsoft, they have a product as well that they have started moving forward with. But no, I just want to mention one other thing to our listeners. Anybody that follows my Twitter stream, especially, I'll be doing a SECM 2012 install coming up in the next couple of weeks. So that'll be an interesting challenge. As everybody knows, I did a proof of concept about a month ago, and we had our problems with it. But I think we worked through it and all types of stuff. I think it's going to be a great product. It's really come a long way. Especially when you compare it to companies like Altiras and HP's System Center product. And IBM's especially, they're very superior. So I think HP's coming a long way with their System Center products. And Microsoft is coming way ahead with them as well. So I think slowly, Microsoft's going to be a major player in that industry. So I think everybody should just keep their eyes open on System Center 2012. Follow my Twitter stream and all that type of stuff. I'm sure I'll give you updates on the project as it goes. It's amazing that a couple 7-8 years ago, system management wasn't part of security, and now it's kind of snuck its way in there. It's along with antivirus and all that type of stuff. System center job or systems management job is becoming more of a security job anymore than it is anything else. With update management with SECM or WSOS or whatever you're using for your update server. I have a friend of mine that just works on Zen and Novell's. For those who don't know what Zen works, it's Novell's version of systems management. And he said too, years ago you were just a Novell, systems management guy. Now it's becoming more of a security thing. So it's pretty interesting. So again, wanted to get back to what I was speaking about, the IE. The browser. Let's talk about the browser. Let's not call it browser security. Let's call it the browser wars. Everybody knows, browser security is becoming a bigger issue. Everybody knows by now that Chrome has pretty much won over Firefox, IE, and Opera, which isn't surprising to me. Chrome is really. It's pretty much bundled with everything you download anymore, so it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I know the other day I was downloading a version of Java, and Chrome was bundled with it. So I think it's. I think it's a product that definitely Google has came a long way with. I know everybody always. I know a lot of security guys I deal with, especially say, "Oh, it's a keylogger," but. Google's in the data mining industry. Let's call it that, for lack of a better term. And, overall, I have used Chrome before, and for Google's products, it is fast. I know a friend of mine just recently was telling me that he was able, using Chrome, you're able to download Vivo videos and skip the advertisements. So Chrome is becoming, from what I've read, is becoming more of a development tool than it is, anything else. I know, and especially in the mobile market, I know I was reading just the other day that Safari right now is winning that, which is kind of surprising me. I thought Firefox would kind of pull ahead a little more in the browser market, considering they work on the Droid. But I'm not sure how many people know about, Firefox on the mobile market. So the next thing I want to talk about too is, Chrome has done a lot with every 6 weeks releasing a new version. I think that's helped them. Kind of why they've kind of beaten out Firefox and some of the other browsers. Obviously, Microsoft, integrated browser with IE allows you to update IE along with, Windows. But I think, Chrome coming out with every 6 weeks coming out with a new version allows them to really, instead of just updating their browser, bundle it with the browser, make it a little more efficient and keep it really fast. I know myself, I've used IE9 and I just can't get into it. It just seems like it's really slow and clunky. I know just recently, ironically enough, I was working on a content filtering issue for some clients, and I remember I was on the phone with WebSense, and they actually WebSense content filtering, for those who don't know. WebSense actually said to me, "Oh, well, use Firefox as it's our supported browser." I said, "Well, what about IE?" And they're like, "Well, we don't have a version for IE9 yet." So that kind of surprised me, seeing a major vendor like WebSense, push ahead with Firefox over IE, which is a little bit shocking. And I know SunGuard as well. I've dealt with them on some issues, and I can't go into what I've dealt with, but I can tell you this, that SunGuard as well told me that that they support IE heavily and Safari, and they were saying that their big struggle has been with IE9. And I think as well, too, the compatibility issues with IE9, I've dealt with some other projects. Those are just two big ones, but I dealt with some other projects where they just did not want to use IE9, the compatibility issues and all that, and all those types of things. So I think IE9 has Microsoft's really shot themselves in the foot. I know IE10's coming out, and I know that's going to be they're saying that's going to be the next greatest things in browsers. But so we'll see what happens. I know myself. I'm a Firefox user. I use Firefox on a Windows machine as well as on my Mac that I use for corporate work. And I think it's a good, secure browser. I've had to rip and replace a few times, but that's with any browser. I know Opera I was using on my BlackBerry when I had it a couple years ago, and I thought it was really great. I really thought Opera was going to take the mobile market back during the whole BlackBerry thing, because it was really able to do HTML and email better than that BlackBerry browser was. But we all know Chrome. Actually, I was reading an article on Chrome just today recently talking about how they're writing off quite a bit of money. I believe, if I can find the article here, it's about $1 billion in useless inventory. So, times have changed over the last couple of years. It's amazing how much the mobile market's really exploded from a from being the BlackBerry to what it is now. And actually, speaking of the mobile market, I was actually reading an article the other day that Sophos is going to be the official browser of Chrome. So we'll see how that works out in the long run. I would like to see Sophos. I remember I've used them on the desktop side a couple of years ago for a client. They were really big push, especially in the educational side. Sophos was really big towards the city area, and I remember dealing with them. I'm actually on the East Coast, and I know all of the East Coast was a big push for everybody to use Sophos in the educational environment, and it was a good. It was a decent product, but it didn't. No antivirus can stop everything. But I just thought for being the price we paid, it would have did a little bit better job, and the management server itself was. I think left a lot to be desired, but like I said, that's my my theory on Sophos. I think the worst one I've ever dealt with over the years has been Lightspeed. They were just one of the worst antiviruses I think I've ever dealt with. Anytime a company tells you they can handle your content filtering as well as your email filtering, look out. The other thing, one of the other things that I wanted to speak about today was the Fedora 17 release. I was a big Fedora, Red Hat. Actually, I remember Red Hat. Actually, when you could buy Dells with Red Hat on the desktop, I remember. That was a big thing for me. I was a young kid in college. You could buy Red Hat workstation on the Dells, and I remember you can get a Dell extremely cheap if it had Red Hat on it, and they were like giving the machines away. And when you're it was really cool for us. As young college kids to be able to buy a machine with Red Hat on it, but it never really took off. I remember it just wasn't. It didn't work out. Actually, with Ubuntu actually has seriously taken the market as far as the desktop goes, and I was interested to see HP as a company go ahead and start to support their server end on their equipment. So that was kind of a neat thing to see Ubuntu pulling ahead. I know Fedora, I worked with them a little bit a couple of years ago, and I remember it was clunky then. It's a great product. It is really, I've always had a love for Red Hat products, but Fedora, as far as the desktop end, just leaves a lot to be desired as far as the compatibility for desktop OS. Anyway, Red Hat to me is still a great server OS. I still use it, but I just think from a desktop stand side, I just don't think Fedora has the compatibility that Ubuntu has. Debian-based operating systems in themselves are a little bit easier to work, I find, than RPM, but that's just me. Maybe it's just a little bit of the way I am. I don't know. I guess I've come to really enjoy Debian-based OSs. I know myself being into security, I've been using Backtrack lately as my distro of choice, and it's a good it's a good product, especially being in security. I don't know if anybody out there listening is in the security business, but I definitely recommend using Backtrack. Just fabulous OS. For security, all the built-in tools, no compatibility issues. Really is something you might want to definitely look into. The other thing I wanted to speak about is Pirate Bay. As everybody knows, they've been dealing with this get shut down. This is the same company that was wanting to do mobile centers, mobile command centers. So I think that it's going to be tough. People like this have the time, the money, and the resources to pretty much kind of dodge this and dodge that. So it'll be interesting to see what they do over the next couple of months, and to see really what transpires with them trying to be taken down. I know as we all know, the major outrage that there's been in the security world, especially with Anonymous, over the whole takedown of Mega Upload, and we know that LizSec, the whole informant thing that made the news about a month or two ago, and there's been a lot, especially a lot of viruses and a lot of things like that going on over this whole situation with it. So, I'll be curious to see how it all works out over the next. Over the next couple months and over the next year, to see what sites get taken down, what sites are still up. The other thing I want to talk about is Oracle. The zero-day vulnerability still has not been patched. Security alert CV 2012-1675. I blogged about it a little bit, but it's one of those things where I can't believe Oracle still hasn't patched it. They've come out with ways around it, but to help defend against it, but they haven't patched it yet, which kind of surprises me a little bit. Yeah, I kind of thought that Oracle themselves as a company would have definitely taken the time to patch and to Oracle's always had good damage control as far as their company goes, and to see them kind of keep not patch a critical OS vulnerability is kind of a little bit. A little bit depressing, I have to tell you. They've always had great products. They've always been very on top of that type of thing, and I'm a little surprised that that they haven't taken the time to patch something that's it's a major hole in their system. I mean, they've done. They've always had great damage control. This to me is just very, very uncharacteristic of the company. Very much. Unprofessional, considering the facts that they are. I mean, there have been businesses that have been wide open to these threats and no way of patching them. I really think that this, from a company standpoint, I don't think it's been stressed enough. Even on the internet, it's kind of been swept under the rug about this whole situation. And I just think that Oracle as a company needs to definitely pick up the pieces and get this thing patched. I think this is very remnant to the whole Apple flashback thing that happened not too long ago. Apple, Oracle, released a patch. And Apple holds, does those patches, their own version of the patches. They hold everything very close to the chest. And they didn't patch on time, and they had over 600,000 machines that were infected. And I think it's a major issue for Oracle. I think that the fact that Oracle they're a company that hasn't always played well with Apple, and Apple had that flashback virus. I believe it was on the 20th. I think it was around like the 23rd of April, so about a month ago, and they didn't. The Apple really dropped the ball on that, and it really, I think since our topic of choice this week is browser security, I think it's really important to know that Apple had the code months before, and they just didn't get around to it because they were too busy with other things. So I think that's definitely a shame. And I'm not bashing Apple. Believe me, I'm a big Apple fan myself. But I think between Apple needs to really focus more on the patching and focus more on the security. I think Apple's still in the mentality of we don't get viruses, and I think a lot of people still are in that mentality. But the truth of the matter is, Apple is gaining in the industry, and they need to be more aware of security. And I think Apple, especially in the they've taken some major strides that they haven't gotten credit for in the security world. Microsoft's App Locker in Windows 7 Enterprise, is fabulous, and I've used it, And I think it's probably one of the best pieces of software I ever used for locking down users. You can, instead of having to run hashes against apps, you can just say don't let anything run unless it's in this directory. And the fact you can even have people download stuff, but they can't run it or they can't install it. I mean, I think it's great. They've got that whole whitelist situation going on where, if you're not in this list, you don't run. I mean, I think it's great. And I think the sad part is, Microsoft's taking all the credit for it in the world. And, and Apple was actually the one that came up with it. My friend Howard, he's a big Apple admin. He was, I remember him telling me he was doing this, during the whole Vista, he was, during Vista, we were talking about this, and he was telling me, Apple has something that you can, let only certain applications run, and it's very granular and it's very secure. And myself, I remember looking at this and saying, "Wow, I wish Microsoft could come up with something like this," and they did. And it's a great product, but I think Apple, it didn't get stressed enough on the internet that you could do this with Apple, and now everybody's thinking Microsoft's the huge rave about it. And it's funny because the Mac had it first. I think it was on 10.4 or 10.5 was their first release of it. So it just shows you how much ahead of Microsoft they actually were. And Apple, again, just being the way they are, doesn't make mainstream internet news. And I think it's really, really a shame, especially a great product like that. Apple could have really marketed that pretty strong towards businesses and really outdid Microsoft, especially with the whole Vista lull that Microsoft had. That could have been Apple's real big foot in the door with businesses, and they really dropped the ball on it. So the other thing that was interesting too, talking about back when about a year ago, I remember the whole big thing about Safari. If you load Safari on a Windows machine, you could if you went to a website that had a huge iframe, it would blue screen a 64-bit machine. I remember all the screaming about how unsecure Safari is. But again, it's Safari is made to run on Apple. It's not made to run on a Windows box. They make it run so that people can enjoy their favorite browser on Windows. But that's not really what it's. It's designed for an Apple, for an Apple computer. And I remember specifically Steve Jobs saying that putting iTunes on a Windows box is like giving a glass of ice water to somebody in hell. I think that was one of his more infamous quotes. And I agree. I think sometimes Apple does this this cross-platform software to try to please the people. And anytime sometimes when you're going for easeability or going to please people, you're sacrificing security in the name of easeability and presentation. So it's just like anything else. I mean, I know Apple did iTunes on the Windows because they had to. That made the iPod really take off. So overall, I think Apple's made some good decisions, but security has definitely lagged in a lot of Apple's products because they had to appease the public. I think one of the big issues I've always talked about with people with the Mac is the issue where iTunes is the one-stop shop for everything on Apple. I mean, they've even admitted that it's the one-stop hub for everything Apple. Well, the problem is if somebody should ever crack that source code or should ever hack iTunes to the point where you get a deep hack, not just a surface hack or anything like that, or even a cross-scripting hack, but a real deep hack into that iTunes database. That's going to be really a real big hit for Apple if that ever happens, whether it be on the Mac platform, on the Windows platform, or both. I think it's going to be a major issue for them that they're going to have to deal with in the future. Maybe not the near future, but definitely something that they're going to have to deal with, and something that predominantly could really hurt Apple. I hope for their sake they're taking all that into consideration. I know specifically I remember that whole issue with Apple about the about the GPS location being stored in a file on a Mac. And Apple said it's secure, it's safe, it's all the places you've been. But again, it's in the name of security, people don't like that information being just broadcasted out everywhere. And it's something that people people are nervous about, and Apple needs to address, I think, a little bit better. But I just think that it's something that they have addressed, but I just don't think they addressed it it's properly. Let's leave it at that. And one of the other things I wanted to bring up too, since we're again our time here on our podcast, I don't know if anybody ever follows any of the Linux news, but Linus Torvalds wins the 2012 Millennium Technology Prize. We had actually posted that, I believe, up on the blog. Which is pretty interesting. He got it's basically like winning it's basically like a Nobel Prize for technology, and he went ahead and he won it. So I think that was very, very interesting. See a guy like that. Linux is, really changed the industry completely, and I really think he doesn't get the credibility he deserves. But winning this, I really think the guy got the credit he deserves. So I just want to give him his dues for that. Wonderful guy. Always a humble guy. It's great to see him, winning a prize. So, congratulations to him. And I believe we are getting close to the end of our time here on this podcast. But I just want to thank everybody for listening to our first podcast. I know we're only about a half hour into our podcast here. We'll see about making them longer as we go here, but like I said, it's our very first one. It's kind of a test run for us to see how things go. Hope everybody enjoyed the podcast, and like I said, I just want to leave everybody with a couple of points here. Browser security. Always make sure all the browser updates are done. Always make sure that you're taking proper maintenance for your internet, meaning browser cookies, browser history, and all that type of stuff. And also too, there's a lot of tools out there that you can use for cleaning up your browser security. Obviously, ATF cleaner, I think it's C cleaner is another one that I've seen people use. Just try to keep that browser clean, especially of cookies. I know just recently I remember reading an article and hearing an article actually on another podcast talking about how Facebook is really getting in trouble over this whole timeline situation, where basically with a timeline, even though you log out of Facebook, it still leaves unique cookies so that the Facebook can still track where you are, even though you're not logged into Facebook. So very important for anybody that's really wants to keep their stuff confidential and off of the internet. I really strongly suggest cleaning up your cookies and cleaning up your history and all that type of stuff. Some of the other things about browser security as well. There's a program called K9 Protection. Anybody out there that needs to lock people down off of not so appropriate sites, you're allowed one free license per email address. So that's something that if everybody wants to look at, like I said, it's K9 Protection. I believe it's K9Protection.com is the website. Check them out, and they're quite a good company. They do have a commercial and some other products out there, but I've only used the particular product that they have for individual use. But I'm sure they can, if anybody out there wants to go ahead and look at their commercial line, we'd appreciate an email or even anything a tweet to tell us how you enjoyed it. It'd be greatly appreciated. To let us know. It's admin at lapantechnologies.com. Let us know how the product worked. And like I said, if you have any other questions, anytime you'd like to contact us, like I said, feel free to email us at admin at lapantechnologies.com. Or you can go ahead and follow us on Twitter at lapantitech. Or you can go ahead and follow us on our Skype. Or feel free to Skype us anytime you'd like at lapantitech. I'd like to thank everybody, and we'll continue to do this. And like I said, hopefully next time won't be just me jabbering for a half hour. Hopefully I'll be able to get some good friends of mine and some other people, maybe Skype them in and make this podcast a little better. And hopefully, like I said, anybody that's listening, you continue to listen. Like I said, we'll try to do this weekly. And again, it's Lapani Technologies at www.lapanitechnologies.com, or email us at admin@lapanitechnologies.com. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your week.